Have you ever wondered how a small nation could defy one of the most powerful empires of its time? Well, that's exactly what Scotland did in the 14th century, and the story is nothing short of epic. It's a tale of rebellion, strategy, and a fight for freedom that culminates in one of the most famous battles in history, the Battle of Bannockburn. Let's set the scene. It's the late 13th century, and Scotland is in turmoil. The Scottish king, Alexander III, dies without a clear heir, kicking off a succession crisis known as the Great Cause. This is where England's formidable king, Edward I, also known as Longshanks, or the Hammer of the Scots, steps in. He sees this as a golden opportunity to exert his control over Scotland. Edward positions himself as the arbiter, overseeing the claims of various Scottish nobles. He ultimately backs John Balliol, but with a catch. Balliol must swear fealty to him, effectively making Scotland a vassal state of England. The Scottish nobles aren't too happy about this. They feel their independence is being stripped away. This simmering resentment eventually boils over into open rebellion. This is the era of William Wallace, a figure you might know from the movie Braveheart. Wallace leads a fierce resistance against English rule and wins a stunning victory at the Battle of Stirling Bridge. However, his success is short-lived. Edward I personally leads a massive army into Scotland and crushes Wallace's forces at the Battle of Falkirk. Wallace is later captured and brutally executed in London, becoming a martyr for the Scottish cause. With Wallace gone, the Scottish resistance seems broken. But a new leader emerges from the shadows, Robert the Bruce. Now, Bruce's story is complicated. He's a Scottish noble with his own claim to the throne, and he'd even switched sides a few times, sometimes supporting Edward. But in 1306, he makes a decisive move. In a dramatic confrontation inside a church in Dumfries, he kills his main rival for the Scottish crown, John Comyn. This act leaves him no choice but to fully commit to the rebellion. Days later, he is crowned King of Scots. Edward I is furious. He launches another brutal campaign to crush Bruce, forcing him to become an outlaw, hiding in the Highlands and Islands of Scotland. This is a tough time for Bruce. He suffers several defeats and loses many of his family members to the English. Legend has it that during this period, while hiding in a cave, he watched a spider repeatedly try to spin its web. The spider failed again and again, but it never gave up. Inspired by this perseverance, Bruce decides to try again, and he does. Bruce starts to turn the tide using guerrilla warfare tactics. He avoids direct, large-scale battles with the superior English army. Instead, he focuses on surprise attacks, ambushes, and raids. He targets English-held castles and garrisons one by one, slowly but surely reclaiming Scottish territory. His strategy is brilliant. He's patient, methodical, and he knows the Scottish landscape like the back of his hand. This period of hit-and-run warfare becomes known as the Harrowing, and it successfully wears down the English forces and their resources. By 1314, Robert the Bruce has control over most of Scotland. Only a few key strongholds remain in English hands, most notably Stirling Castle. This castle was strategically vital. It was known as the Key to Scotland. The English commander at Stirling, Sir Philip Mowbray, makes a deal with Bruce's brother, Edward. If an English army doesn't arrive to relieve the castle by Midsummer's Day, he will surrender it to the Scots. This is the challenge that Edward II, who has succeeded his father Edward I, cannot ignore. He's been criticized for not being the strong military leader his father was. And he sees this as his chance to prove himself and finally put an end to the Scottish rebellion. So, he gathers one of the largest English armies ever to invade Scotland. We're talking about roughly 2,000 heavy cavalry, the medieval equivalent of tanks, and around 15,000 infantry, including highly skilled longbowmen. It's a massive, formidable force. Robert the Bruce knows he can't match the English in numbers or equipment. His army is much smaller, around 6,000 to 7,000 men, mostly composed of spearmen. He has very few archers and only a small contingent of light cavalry. A head-on clash in an open field would be suicide. So he has to choose his battlefield very carefully. He picks a spot just south of Stirling, near a stream called the Bannockburn. The terrain here is his greatest ally. It's marshy and wooded, crisscrossed by streams and pools. This will restrict the movement of the powerful English heavy cavalry, preventing them from performing their devastating charges. Bruce and his men spend days preparing the ground. They dig a series of small hidden pits called calthrops and cover them with turf. These are designed to break the legs of the English war horses and disrupt their formations. It's a genius piece of medieval military engineering. The battle begins on June 23, 1314. The English army arrives, confident of a quick victory. They see the small Scottish force and likely underestimate them. The first day sees two significant skirmishes. In one, a group of English knights under Henry de Bohun spots Robert the Bruce himself, who is reviewing his troops. De Bohun seizes the opportunity for glory and charges directly at the Scottish king. Bruce, armed only with a battle-axe and riding a small pony, calmly waits. At the last second, he swerves, stands in his stirrups, and brings his axe down on de Bohun's head, splitting his helmet and skull. This incredible act of personal bravery sends a huge morale boost through the Scottish ranks. Meanwhile, another English cavalry force tries to outflank the Scots and reach Stirling Castle. But they are intercepted by a Scottish spear formation, known as a schiltron. These schiltrons are essentially tight circles of men with long spears pointing outwards, like giant hedgehogs. The English cavalry charges, but they can't break the spear wall. After a fierce fight, they are driven back. The first day ends with the Scots feeling confident and the English a little shaken. That night, the English army makes a crucial mistake. Instead of pulling back to better ground, they camp in a confined marshy area between the Bannockburn and another stream. They are cramped and disorganized. The Scottish army, on the other hand, is positioned on higher, drier ground. Bruce gives a rousing speech, urging his men to fight for their freedom and their homes. At dawn, on June 24th, the Scots make a bold move. Instead of waiting to be attacked, they advance. The entire Scottish army moves forward in their schiltron formations. The English are caught completely by surprise. Their knights try to mount a charge, but they have no room to maneuver. They are packed in too tightly, and the ground is treacherous. They crash into the Scottish spear walls and into each other. The battle turns into a chaotic, brutal melee. The famous English longbowmen, who could have been a game-changer, are unable to shoot effectively. They are positioned behind their own cavalry and risk hitting their own men. When they do try to find a clear line of fire, they are scattered by a surprise charge from Bruce's small force of light cavalry. With their cavalry neutralized and their archers useless, the English infantry is pushed back into the marshy ground and the waters of the Bannockburn. Panic sets in. Many English soldiers are trapped, trampled, or drowned. King Edward II himself is nearly captured and has to be dragged from the battlefield to safety. His flight signals the complete collapse of the English army. The retreat turns into a rout. The battle is a catastrophic defeat for England and a spectacular, decisive victory for Scotland. The aftermath of Bannockburn was immense. It didn't immediately end the war, but it changed everything. Robert the Bruce's position as King of Scots was now secure beyond any doubt. The victory united the Scottish people behind him. In 1320, the Scottish nobles sent a letter to the Pope, known as the Declaration of Arbroath. It's one of the most famous documents in Scottish history, a powerful assertion of Scotland's right to be an independent nation. It famously states, "For as long as but 100 of us remain alive, never will we on any conditions be brought under English rule. It is in truth not for glory, nor riches, nor honors that we are fighting, but for freedom, for that alone, which no honest man gives up but with life itself." The war with England would continue for several more years. But the English never regained the upper hand. Finally, in 1328, with the Treaty of Edinburgh-Northampton, England formally recognized Robert the Bruce as King of an independent Scotland. The victory won at Bannockburn, against all odds, had secured Scotland's freedom for the next 400 years. It stands as a powerful testament to strategic brilliance, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of a nation determined to be free. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into Scottish history interesting, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more epic stories from the past. See you next time.